All right. Hello, hello. We are live on Love and Lunch, your weekly 20-minute Facebook Live on love, life, and intimacy. I'm Joanna Keeble. I'm founder and coach at bigbeautifulboundaries.com. You can check me out there. You can find me on Instagram under Big Beautiful Boundaries. And I'm going to drop a link later to my Facebook group. I would love to see you in there. That's where you get my best, most intimate, most honest, most useful content. All right, and over to my co-host, Jo Cooper.
Beautiful, thank you. Sorry, I had a little giggle. Just having the permission right now. Yeah, just having a giggle for a few reasons. Anyway, I am Jo Cooper, dating, sex, and relationship coach. And yeah, I really support women to own their truth, to empower them through their desires, their sexuality, so they can be their authentic selves, and what that really looks like to have deep, fulfilling relationships that turn you on. So yeah, really passionate about that. I will drop my Facebook group below as
Copycat.
well. Oh God. So I've just done a lot of clearing and I'm in a really playful mood. Yeah, so you'll get my Facebook group at the bottom of this live. And yeah, I'd love to see you in there too. Like, I go live regularly, I post content in there, and it's just a really beautiful, safe space to engage and share your thoughts on some of the things that I'm sharing within the group. So yeah, I will leave it there.
Gorgeous. It's one of the reasons that you're laughing, because I'm handling the tech.
Yeah, one of them. I mean,
so Jo has been handling the tech the whole time we've done Love and Lunch, right? Since the beginning. We just decided it was easier for one person to do it, and she stepped up. She was playing with it first, and then last week I said I'll do it. So this is my second week, and I messed it up a bit last week. So yeah, it's a little bit intense.
perfect.
I think it went well, but there was a moment where I almost got it completely wrong. So yeah, it's not intuitive. I'm going to say that.
Mm-hmm.
So we are lucky enough to have a gorgeous, delicious, juicy question this week that I know is going to appeal to a lot of people, right? And so I might actually read this word for a second, right? So the lovely Anita has asked, what questions can you ask in a new relationship to gain a more wholesome understanding of your person, and how to ask gently? So living in the now to cut through the who I used to be in the 90s crap. But often someone's past trauma is still very present with them today. And so it's like wanting to share truth. She says, I feel so much more connected to someone if I can share my truth with them, and vice versa. So I think it's about sort of wanting to say, hey, what's your crap? You know, what's your sore spot, or what's your story, without actually inviting us all to go and live in the past or be like, this happened to me, but actually be aware of, I don't know, the stories that formed somebody and the impact that's had on them, and how that's going to impact you in relationship.
Yeah, well, how much time have we got? Because this is such a me question.
We're going to have to just limit this down and say every fifth word that comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, wow, it's very layered.
Yeah.
I think a few things that come to mind. A few things come to mind. I think I liked how she used the word approaching it, you know, in a gentle way.
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted to say, like, I think that is a beautiful thing to actually just start with, is actually, I actually feel like before we even date, like, I need to know myself. I need to really know myself, where my triggers are, where I've been avoidant in the past, where I've not healed stuff from past relationships. And actually, I mean, that's part of the work, is to take responsibility and know that So when something comes up, when someone, you know, within a new relationship, whether they don't text you back for a few days, and then we put a story on that and make it mean something.
Right.
I think it's really good to not assume or attach a story because someone is behaving, I think, in a certain way. I think it's good to kind of, there's a lots of possibilities. Like someone is individual, they're in their own stuff, having their life on their journey. And I think it is about approaching this in a way that is like, yeah, I think gentle but curious, keeping an open mind. And if someone says something that actually either feels, I don't know, whether it's tight or strange or you're not too sure, but it's kind of, you felt something that you're like, oh, I'm not too sure about that. I would invite you to listen to that and to go and speak to someone who is not going to collude with you, but actually give you maybe some honest feedback, or just see what they're noticing about that, so you can actually think and inquire a little bit deeper. You know, whether you're working with a coach or a therapist or whoever that person may be, and just be like, you know, this is a thing, or this is a thing that they said, I just would love to speak to you about it further, just so you can, so I think it's really helpful to kind of process these things as well, and to kind of go slow. I mean, some of the things that are really important for me around dating is that someone hasn't just come out of a relationship, right? Someone hasn't just come out of a relationship and then boom, they're looking for like the next relationship. But like, so a few questions, you know, like, it's important for me to know how long someone has been single for, and also like what they've been doing in that time. Like, I'll ask them, like, what have you learned about yourself? Because then I'm like, and if they just say, oh, nothing,
yeah, or if they're like, what?
And they've just been like, oh, I've been going on a bender, been drinking, been doing this and this, I'm like, okay, bye. But if someone's been like, I've been on a healing journey, you know, I've been on a healing journey, and the kind of, you know, you don't want to get into someone's stuff right at the beginning of the relationship. Like, I think that's important, not to be like, this is all my stuff, what's all your stuff, you know, because actually that has a tendency that we could go into a trauma bond.
Right, so then you're just telling stories without necessarily having a clear point to why you're doing that, what you want to get from that.
And so I think you can ask kind of questions, like whichever question you feel like is appropriate. I mean, there's so many questions that I ask, but it depends on the vibe that I'm feeling and what feels most appropriate.
How often do we feel a question come up and then not say it? Right? That's what I used to do, because I was so convinced that I didn't know anything. So if anything came up to me intuitively, I would just automatically assume that I was being ridiculous. Right? Because I was like, nope, there's no logical place from where that's come from. So shut up, Joanna. And I wouldn't say it. Whereas now I'll practice saying it. And if I'm not sure, I'll say, hey, this question's just popped into my head, so I want to say it, okay? And if I need to, I'll say it's a bit funny, or it's a bit odd, or it's a bit harsh. So, you know, I want you to take it gently. So I'll phrase it if I need to add something, but I'll say, you open, can I say this? Or here it is, whatever it is. I love how you're pointing towards the person, right? Be aware of your stuff, be aware of what you actually want, like what's actually relevant to you. What are you looking for? Because it's not, my questions might be different to somebody else's questions, because it's about what's important to me.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I always wanted to, I want to say actually that healing is not linear, right? And I think when we get into a relationship or we start to get to know someone, be prepared that they're going to trigger your stuff. Like they are going to trigger the things that are not healed or the things that still need healing, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
And I think there's something about, someone used this analogy once and I really liked it. It's just like, okay, so if you, I'm just going to use the word football, right? So if you play football, I don't know why I'm using this one, but anyway, and you broke your foot or you did something that you know was out of action and it needed to go through a period of healing, so you couldn't really do anything apart from just rest and be with it and do whatever you needed to your foot, right? It's just like you wouldn't then think after 2 weeks it's kind of okay, I'm going to go and play football again. It's like you get to a certain point where you would be able to play, but you may do kind of things before you actually fully date. So you may just kind of do things at more of like a light touch. So there'll be a period where you kind of, you know, your foot's healed, but you may not go and play like a full game. You may just kind of, you know, just kind of see how things are. I don't know, just with one friend or with something like that. And I think like with dating, it's just like you kind of just, I think what I'm trying to allude to is like go slow. Like go slow and just check in with yourself. Like, how does it feel to go out there and date? Is too much of my stuff coming up, or is it okay that I'm still speaking to my coach and I'm okay to date at the same time? Because this is an integration as well. There's no point where we always do our healing work and then we're like, oh my God, we're so ready today. I've got no more shit to look at.
Right.
It's actually not going to happen. Your shit is going to come up, but you get to a certain point where you've looked at stuff from like past relationships and being like, oh yeah, I can own that, I can heal it, I can nurture it, and I'm kind of ready to, I know what my stuff is. Yeah. I know what my triggers are when I come into a relationship, and I know that I need to put attention onto that and love myself in certain areas, and yeah, be okay with that. Be okay to get triggered again. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Totally. I love that, because we talk so much about like people with baggage or people who are fucked up or whatever, as if, again, this is something I've been talking about a lot lately, which is binary thinking. That's what I'm calling it. I haven't looked up if other people are calling it that. But this whole like, oh, this is good and this is bad, or this is right and this is wrong. And so we end up also thinking like there's people with baggage, and then there's like, what, I don't know, pure, clean people who've never had any experiences. Or like there's people with problems, like you've got problems or you've got issues. It's like, well, there's no line down the middle with people with shit on one side and people with no shit on the other side. No, we've all got crap. So I wanted to mention, this is I don't know if we're going to be able to see this. This is a meme. Can you see that? Probably a really bad way to do a live stream. But it says, it's me dating at 21. This is what kind of sparked Anita's question, I think. Me dating at 21, saying, what do you like to do for fun? And then me dating at 27, asking, how aware are you of your past traumas? And how actively are you working to heal so that you don't project that shit onto me? And it's like, that's the thing, isn't it? You kind of want to be able to say it, but without, you know, without saying it. So for me, the answer is, well, there's a couple of questions. Like when I was active on Tinder, if I was in a conversation and I wanted to know more, because it's a bit like, not sure, I don't have a clear sense of this person. That's a red flag already for me, because it's like I have to dig to find this person. And just from the statistics of like how that conversation goes, it tends to not be so great. If I have to say, so, you know, what are you about? If it's not flowing. And when it went well was when it just flowed. But one of the questions I would ask is like, what is sex to you? You know, something like that. And then you immediately find out, can this person answer a high sensation question? Can they like string a sentence together just in a direct communication. So that's what I was looking for. I wanted to have just no bullshit, just communicate with me. Are you confident and comfortable there? But that was a specific thing that I was looking for, right? But the other thing that I would do is, and this comes up for me in all relationships, human relationships, right? All interactions that I have, I will find out very quickly if a person is present with me and if they're able to listen to what I'm saying, understand it, and respond by whether or not they do that in a very short, basic conversation. There will be something that they say where I say, well, I think of it like this, and then we'll see how they respond to that. And so, for example, if someone apologizes to me because they didn't reply immediately, and I say, please don't apologize, please live your life. I don't need you to apologize at all. And it, for me, it's nice that we all have the permission to not reply immediately. And if they come back and say, oh, well, it's just really important to me to be polite or something, it's sort of like, okay, I wonder if they've heard what I'm saying, right? So you can just pay attention, and it's not like one red flag and you're done, right? But you just pay attention. How responsive is this person, and how flexible are they in conversation? You can ask for something, right? So that for me is an adjustment. If they apologize to me again, say, oh, I'm sorry, I was working, then I'll be like, okay, you don't need to apologize to me. So if I have to repeat myself, then that's interesting, because it might be that it's really important to them to rescue me, right? It might be it's really important to their persona to be a nice guy. And that for me takes away from the intimacy that I want. I want to have communication without that layer of performance. I want to have an intimacy where you can just be yourself with me without being the nice guy and being a gentleman. It's similar if I'm standing at a lift and you say, oh, please, ladies first. I don't identify as a lady, but even when I did, then that for me was like, no, please get on the lift. And if they then say, no, I insist, it's like, okay, so I know now that this person has a very different approach to me around consent and gender equality. And I get it, I get where they're coming from, and we're not going to have an intimate connection, chances are. So what else? You can actually tell people what you want. You can state your boundaries, and you can ask what they're looking for. You can ask their expectations. You can ask about what's important to you in a relationship. That one is so revealing. If you've seen anyone answer that question online, what's important to you in a relationship, and people say things like that they always answer the phone whenever I call, that they would do anything for me at any time of the day or night, that they would never ever leave me. And it's like, oh honey, I get it, we can work together if you like. There's some stuff there, so yeah,
definitely. I think I just want to come back to a point that you raised. I think the question around, I think you have to come up with a few questions that work for you. Like, I think definitely if you're going on Tinder and there's things that you are looking for, like maybe just like a lovers or sexual relationship, then your questions might be different to, like, if you're looking for a relationship, there's some kind of there's questions to ask before then. And I think it's just like feeling into, okay, like what's really important for me. Mine is that the person that I meet has had some time away from their last relationship, that they've spent some time by themselves, that they know themselves and they're okay in solitude. And so there's a thing, so I will probably frame my questions around specific things that I would like to hear. Whether I get that answer or not is a thing. And interestingly, I haven't got that much time, but I did ask someone a question very recently.
Yeah.
And it was interesting what he replied. And, he'd just come out of like 2 years ago had come out like a 17 year relationship.
Right.
And I was just like, oh, okay. And we were talking about, and I just said, we were talking and I just said, oh, how do you feel about dating? Like, and he just said, yeah, I'm really excited. And I was just like, oh, okay, great. And then I was just like, oh, what? I just said, have you, what was the question I asked him? I think it was something about like, I can't remember the exact question, but it was something to do with like, how's his healing journey been, or like, and he basically didn't respond and said, oh yeah, my colleague just told me to be strong. And I was just like, oh. And then he just said, have you got anybody that you could recommend for me to work with? I just was like, and yeah, the conversation went into a completely different thing to what I thought it was going to be. But I mean, I've got a lot of truth, I've got a lot of facts, you know. What I decide to do with that, or how I navigate that, it's given me a lot of information. But it's given me a lot of information that I know where to kind of take the conversation and how I want to be with it. And there's a lot of like, yeah, it's given me a lot of information to move forward in the way that I want to with that. And so it's a very, you can ask some very insightful questions right at the beginning that will give you what you want, and then you know what the next right step is for you. And for me, that's really important to get that right at the beginning, so I know if I want to waste if I want to spend some time getting to know them, or if I'm actually just wasting my time, like I've got enough information now to think, do I really want to kind of get to know this person?
Totally. And equally, you know, you. So for example, I'm polyamorous. And so I don't want to mess with anyone who's, you know, aggressively monogamous, should we say, right? But equally, if someone knows I'm polyamorous, I need to then be really careful, because there's a lot of fuckboys out there, should we say. There's a lot of people out there. I don't want to put too much shame on it, right? Because we're all trying to be okay, and so are they. And you know, we've all been given limited supplies and resources to work with to get our okay, and we're all in some ways scrabbling and like barking up the wrong tree here and there. And sometimes that's part of getting your development, right? So that's, you know, a little bit of compassion for the fuckboys. That's not the same as any flexibility on boundaries. Right, so reach out to me if you have any issues confusing compassion with boundaries, because it's prolific. But yeah, if someone's like, oh, you're poly, that's really cool, or you're polyam, it's better to say, that's really awesome, yeah, that's fine, then I need to find out what the hell they think we're talking about. You know, and get really clear. And so don't be afraid to be really, really clear. Like, one of the issues is we make a lot of assumptions in our mind, even when we say, oh, it's important to me that someone's polyamorous, or monogamy is important, or I would never cheat. All of these phrases are vague as fuck. You need to go into them and say, well, what does that look like for you? What does cheating mean to you? What is betrayal to you? And maybe not all on the first date, not as your opening copy pasta paragraph for Tinder, but but don't be afraid when someone tells you where they are with something to say, tell me more. Well, what exactly do you mean? Go into more detail. And for me, if someone's not willing to go into more detail, that tells me not that they're a bad person, but just that, you know, it's just not what I want. I want to go into that detail, get that clarity.
Lots of juice, lots of things to think about.
So, hey, if you have a question or questions that you like to ask your dates, right, write it in the comments so Anita can read them. I know she'd love the interaction as well. I've made Anita sound really lonely. I just meant she's a buzzy ball of life, and I think it would be fun for her if people say, hey, this is what I ask my dates.
Yeah.
So, should we wrap it up?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. If you are watching the recording, #replay, we'd love to know who's been watching, if there's anything that has resonated with you today. Feel free to put in the comments. Alternatively, you can always DM either Joanna or I directly. We'd love to hear from you. And also we will be both dropping our Facebook groups below. Yeah, I don't have anything to, yeah, I've got, what are we in now, May. I have got some events coming up in May, but no fixed dates. Yeah, it'll be coming out in my Facebook group. So yeah, it'd be lovely to have you in there.
Cool. Well, I have a new thing that I'm doing. I've just started. Like many people, I stopped going out the house to a great extent during lockdown. And I have a little anxiety and I have fatigue and I've got ADHD tendencies, which can make it difficult to get started on a task. And one of the things that's really helping me get outside, I'm calling it a coffee saunter, where instead of going outside like in my gym gear to go to the park and like, you know, with trainers on, no, that's never going to happen. So I just grab my coffee, I'm just wearing my flip-flops and I just wander down and mooch down the road a bit. And I thought, right, we're going to do a coffee saunter live stream. So I'm going to be dropping that into my group most days and answering people's questions. Yeah, so get in my Facebook group if you want the best of me, and I'll put it below, but it's called Big Beautiful Boundary Builders.
Yes, I love that. Okie dokies. We are going to love and leave you for today. We will see you next Tuesday. Yeah, have a beautiful day and week. Ooh.
Bye for now.